I am Kai Smith. I have 25 years in the beauty industry. I am a certified trichologist as well. And I have a passion for helping women restore their hair, as well as a passion for helping women uncover the causes of their hair loss. So now that I got all the technical stuff out the way, let's jump right on into content. Does natural hair mean healthy hair? What is the definition of natural hair? Because that can mean something different to everybody. So I'll just give a few different definitions of natural hair, what has been said to be natural hair. So some refer to natural hair as hair that hasn't been chemically treated, altered with any kind of chemical straightener. So hair that has not been altered with a chemical straightener is one term or one person's perspective of natural hair. And it says, as it refers to texture, not color. So they don't mean altering the color. They mean altering the actual curl pattern of the hair. So when you alter the curl pattern of hair based on this definition, that is when you move away from having natural hair. That is one perspective. As we know, there are always many perspectives on a situation. There's no right or wrong way. I'm just going to talk to you about the science of it today. But before I go into my perspective, I want to lay it all out to you. And so that first definition, some refer to natural hair as hair that hasn't been chemically altered with a straightener, hasn't been chemically altered, taking away from its natural curl pattern as it relates to texture and not color. So meaning you've altered the texture of the hair, taking out the curl pattern, straightening the curl pattern, or texturizing the curl pattern, not altering the pigment, the melanin of the hair. Okay, you guys following me? And then another version or one's perspective of natural hair would be hair that is no longer in its natural state. Hair that has been thermally texturized, meaning altered with a pressing comb or a flat iron or a curling iron, or one that has been colored or chemically straightened. And so that one is saying anything out of its natural state, anything other than the way it grows from the scalp naturally would be not considered natural if you altered it from that state. Okay, so just to recap, the first perspective is just only if you, for instance, relax your hair. That's when you're no longer considered natural. Has nothing to do with color or thermally texturizing or anything. Just when you go in and you relax your hair, make it from curly or coily or wavy to straight with sodium hydroxide or some form of hydroxide. The other perspective is anything that is taken out of its natural state, altering the way it grows out of the head, be it chemical straightener, be it thermally texturizing with some form of heat to make it straight temporarily, or coloring. Okay, so I want to know, for those of you who are on this broadcast with me, what side do you sit on, A or B? A meaning the only way you're no longer natural is if you straighten your hair with a chemical relaxer, or B, if you do anything outside of the natural state, meaning color, straighten with heat, or straighten with chemicals. What side do you sit on? How does that sound to you? So for me, rearranging the bonds of the hair, not diffusing any pigment in the hair. So I would be B as well. If you alter the hair from the natural state in which it grows from the hair follicle, anytime you straighten your hair, anytime you do it with a chemical or with heat, or you put color on it, it's no longer natural. And so this is an argument that a lot of naturalistas have. So when people come into the salon, or when they call me on the phone and they say, oh, I'm natural, natural can mean anything to anybody depending on the person. I'm speaking about hair care and science only. So a lot of people like to wear their hair natural, but they have no idea what they're getting themselves into. They have this perspective that their hair is going to be more natural, more healthy, because they're not putting any chemicals or anything in their hair. But that's so far from the truth, because I see people in the salon that wear relaxer, and I do believe that everybody is not a candidate for relaxer. There are some people who can wear it, and there's some people who cannot wear it. So it just depends on the state of the hair and the texture of one's hair. And when you're into hair care, you can manage those things behind the chair. And so people have this false belief, and this is what I'm debunking today. People have this false belief that when they go into a natural state, that their hair is healthier because they're not altering the natural composition of hair with chemicals or some, depending on what side you sit on, A or B, or heat. But with that said, in the salon, when I get women who come in who are natural and now their hair is breaking off and they don't know what to do, they're complaining that their hair won't retain moisture no matter what products they put on their hair, they're in a worse off state than my relaxed or chemically treated clients. I'm going to say it again. These naturalistas who don't know anything about hair care and don't know how to take care of their hair, they're in a worse off state as far as the integrity of their hair is concerned than the woman that has been relaxed. I want to debunk the myth that you have to be natural in order for your hair to be healthy. That is the furthest thing from the truth. Natural hair does not mean healthy hair at all. Thank you so much, Natalie. So you have to be really careful when you elect to do something. You have to know all the things surrounding that thing that you're doing. You have to know why you're doing what you're doing. You can't follow a fad because everybody is transitioning from relaxer, because relaxer is breaking the black hair off and it's drying black hair out, and women who wear relaxer hair, they're thinning. And naturalistas typically, and not saying that women who wear relaxer don't, because once again, everything that I'm saying is based on hair care and science. So you can fall on either side. You can fall with what I'm saying, the characteristics or attributes of unhealthy hair. You can have that with natural hair, and you can have that with chemically treated hair. It just depends on how you care for your hair. If you're going in to seek professional treatment to keep your hair on track, it depends on what your hair care regimen is. So I'm not pro one or against the other. I'm just giving facts here. With my own self, I don't have a relaxer in my hair. When I wore short hair, I wore a relaxer in my hair, and I wore a relaxer in my hair from a child all the way up until 2009. I wore a relaxer. 2009 is when I decided that I was growing my hair out. And when I grew my hair out, I grew out of the relaxer. The only reason why I had a relaxer was because my hair was short and I wanted control. I wanted my size in my back to lay, and I wanted to have a controlled short cut. But I always wore relaxer and color, and I never had a problem with my hair coming out because I knew how to properly moisture and protein balance my hair. So you can wear color and relaxer at the same time. It's not the color or the relaxer that breaks off the hair. It's the user that breaks off the hair. I wear color in my hair. I'm natural. If you want to go with A's version, once again, we'll recap. Version A was you're only not natural if you wear relaxer. Version B was anything altered from the way the hair naturally grows out of the scalp is considered not natural. For me, I believe that natural is B. If you alter the hair from its normal pigment, if you alter it from its normal curl pattern, that is no longer natural. It is no longer natural. Their hair requires more care. Why does their hair require more care? And I say that because in my book, Discover the Secrets to Healthy Hair, I talk about people going natural because they think it's more carefree. They don't have to do as much to their hair, so they go natural. It's not a lot of responsibility. They don't have to be a slave to the salon or a slave to the relaxer or whatever it is that they were doing to their hair before they decided to transition and go to the natural state, which is the furthest from the truth. Those people who decide to go natural, it is much more care involved, much more care involved. The hair requires more care because they manipulate their hair more when it's wet. When the hair is wet, you're breaking the hydrogen bond and the salt bond, which they're both responsible for the strength and elasticity and the shape of your hair. And so it makes the hair weaker when it's wet because you've broken bonds. You break bonds when the hair is wet. And so when that hair is wet and you're manipulating it and you're over manipulating the hair, what do you think is going to happen to it when it's wet? And I already told you that two of the bonds that keep the hair together are broken when the hair is wet. So it's weaker and you're over manipulating the hair, maybe because you're using the wrong tools or you're putting too much tension on your hair, or you get to the middle of your hair where it's actually the thickest and probably the most hardest to control and you can't see that area. So you start combing it improperly, probably combing from the scalp instead of combing from the ends all the way up to the scalp. There's several different scenarios that can be used as to why someone would be breaking their hair off over manipulating it while it's wet. Also, when you continue to break those bonds like that and you're not using proper product on it to realign that cuticle, to make sure the cuticle is sealed, you're leaving it open, the hair becomes more porous, you're not feeding it what it needs, so then it starts becoming dry, it's brittle, and then it starts lacking protein. So now you have weaker hair, not because you've broken the bonds, but because now it's lacking the protein. And protein in the hair acts like links in a chain. So just think of the proteins in your hair, the amino acids, the keratin that bonds the hair together, that keeps it strong. Think of them like links in a chain. When they're connected, the hair is strong. When they start separating and having gaps in the links, they're no longer strong. That's when you start seeing breakage because the hair is becoming weak. It needs to be refilled. Because remember, the hair that you see on your scalp is no longer living. Quite contrary to what you might believe, it's no longer living. That's why when you cut it, there's no nerves in it. You don't feel it. It doesn't hurt because it's not living. Only the hair beneath the scalp at a certain point in the follicle is still living because it's connected to the blood supply. Anything beyond that in the hair follicle, and once it protrudes from the scalp, is no longer living. It's just keratin fiber. Fibers that protrude the scalp. And then you must use synthetic product, such as humectants, meaning moisture, and protein, artificial keratin, amino acid, in order to bond that hair back together, keep it moist, and keep it strong. That's what protein and moisture balance is. And the novice person will not know how to do that. So when you start taking matters into your own hands and you start doing your hair at home because now you're a naturalista and you want to try every product known to man on your hair, are these products working for your hair? Are you spending more time buying products or more time benefiting from the products that you buy? So when you don't know how to use the proper products on your hair, then you start seeing destruction with your hair. It's not doing what you want it to do. It's not behaving. And so my thing is, it's not that I'm against natural hair, but what I am against is those that decide they want to go natural and then they want to condemn everybody else that's still on the other side, that still has a relaxer in their hair, or color in their hair, or they thermally texturize their hair, and then their hair is worse off than the person that's doing all of the above that I just listed because they don't know how to care for their hair. So their hair is weaker because they continue to break bonds and not replenish the hair. When they're wetting and then manipulating their hair when it's wet, it's breaking off. And don't get me wrong, not all naturalistas are in this situation. So this is not a blanket statement. So please don't walk away from this broadcast thinking that this is a blanket statement saying that all naturalistas have bad hair or poor integrity with their hair, because that is not what I'm saying. I'm simply speaking about hair care and science as it relates to, is your hair healthier in its natural state? Or does my topic, does natural hair mean healthier hair? So is hair healthier because it's in its natural state, or is it unhealthy because it's in a chemically altered state? And the answer is no. Just because your hair is chemically altered doesn't mean that it has to be damaged. My experience, though, is that working with women who have relaxed hair or color treated hair or thermally texturized hair, and so basically, hair is manipulated more when it's wet due to styling techniques like twist outs, bantu knots, braiding, those types of things. So this is why you may, if you are a naturalista watching this broadcast, this is why you may experience breakage. And once again, like I said, the hair is weaker when it's wet because you're breaking the salt and hydrogen bonds. Those bonds are broken whenever the hair is wet, and they reform when the hair is dry. But if they reform and it's lacking something and it's continually the bonds are broken and reformed, and you're not replenishing it with superior product, moisture or protein, then eventually the hair is going to become weak and brittle, because it's lacking moisture and protein. So you got to be really, really careful. And once again, this is why I encourage those of you who do your hair at home, those of you who don't have a budget for the salon, or those of you who don't have time for the salon, I really, really encourage that you at least get into the salon. I mean, I would say at least every 3 to 6 weeks, get into the salon so that you can make sure that you're fortifying the hair. You can make sure that your ends are intact. When you're over manipulating the hair like that and you're constantly braiding or having your hair in a wet state, it dries out the ends as well. So your ends may need to be trimmed more frequently than the average person. So you want to make sure that you're in the hands of a professional hairstylist, meaning someone who is licensed. Someone who is licensed, someone who advocates hair care. I'm sorry, this is not to discriminate against anybody, but all hairstylists are not equal. They are not equal. A lot of us are more concerned with hairstyle than we are concerned with hair care. So just make sure you do your due diligence when you're going and you're sitting in somebody's chair to get those services done to your hair. But I encourage you at least every 3 to 6 weeks to get in somebody's chair to get that moisture balance, to get that protein balance, or both. And just to make sure that your hair is on the right track, because just like an annual physical, you go in there and you make sure that their body is saying everything is right with those blood tests. You get in there periodically and check on some things. If you get a cough, if you get an ache, whatever it is that you get, you go in, you schedule an appointment, or you're calling a triage nurse or something so that you can make sure that you're on track with your body. If your tooth starts to ache and that Ambisol didn't work or that Tylenol didn't work after too long, you're going to go into the dentist to see what's wrong. So be the same way about your hair. Be the same way about your hair. If it starts not looking right and you start struggling with it and it starts looking dull and dry and you're seeing broken strands on your cabinet or on your shirt or in your car, it's time for you to pay a visit to the hairstylist so that you can get some moisture and protein balance in your hair and you can stay on the right track. And you can have nice natural hair. Okay? And so basically, just due to improper hair care practices, either if you're a naturalista or not, it can lead to breakage. It can lead to dull, dry hair. That natural hair is not carefree. It is not carefree. It takes more work to be natural than it does to be thermally straightened or chemically relaxed. It takes more work. And so with that said, you just need to make sure that you keep your hair in tip-top condition. And that means hopping into the salon periodically and then making sure that your stylist is educating you on what products are best for your hair, because everybody requires something different. I can't use the same thing on my hair and expect for it to respond as the next person may use on their hair. Even in the salon, I have different products for different types of situations. I don't just take a bottle and use the same bottle on every one. I do an assessment of the hair to see the condition of the hair, the texture of the hair, what the hair needs. Can you suggest some good products? Been natural for years, recently cut my hair off and find I'm not happy with any products. Okay, Tanya, I'm going to I will come in later and put in a website link on the timeline, or if Tammy is still on this timeline right now, type in silkoutsystem.com, silkoutsystem.com. She has a superior product. She does retail that product. You can order it online. I do use it in the salon. And it's awesome, and it will help you with your textured hair. It definitely will help you with your textured hair. And just periodically, you need to pop into the salon. Even though you're natural, you need to pop into the salon, and you need to let a professional go ahead and, give you some TLC. Take care of your hair, and then you can go home and maintain it. And, every 3 to 6 weeks or so, hop in there so that you can make sure everything is still everything with your hair. As I was saying about your ends, those ends don't just go away just because you ignore them. But my motto with that, if you don't trim your ends, it's not going to go away. It's just going to get larger and larger and larger. And when you do decide to let your hairstylist trim your ends, you're going to have to end up losing more hair that didn't have to be sacrificed if you would have just trimmed your ends when they were very small. The ends will continue to travel up the hair shaft until you cut them off where they start. Like a run in a stocking. You know how you try to put that clear fingernail polish on that run when you go into church on Sunday and you can put those stockings on and you don't have another pair. You try to repair it with that clear polish. And then all of a sudden it starts running again. So if you have split ends, there's only but so much you can do to salvage it with conditioners, because they're going to continue to split and you have to cut them off where they start. So I encourage you to trim your ends when they're less than a half an inch so that you can retain your hair, because if your ends are breaking off, it's growing from the scalp and it's breaking off on the ends, then it looks like your hair isn't growing and it's counterproductive. Okay? So just making sure that you stay protein and moisture balanced and keeping your ends trimmed, and getting products that work for your hair texture will keep your hair healthy. So does natural hair mean healthy hair? Absolutely not. It does not mean that your hair is healthier because it is natural. So with that said, my conclusion is just basically that natural hair does not mean healthier hair, that you can have healthy or damaged hair in either state, chemically treated or natural, and that the only way for you to increase the integrity of your hair and to maintain the integrity of your hair is making sure that you use superior products, making sure that you visit a professional, a hair care professional, a licensed hair care professional periodically to keep you in line with your trim and to make sure that your hair stays balanced with moisture and protein, and that they're teaching you how to use the tools on your type of hair so that you're not over manipulating with your tools or with your hands based on the style that you're wearing.